Get in there, guys. I'm absolutely chuffed with that. Arsenal have won the Community Shield. 1-1 after normal time, penalty shootout, Arsenal come out victorious. I'm so pleased. I was supposed to be there today, actually. I had a ticket for the game. As you can see, I'm very much not at Wembley Stadium. An opportunity came up to go away with the family, and I thought I'd better take that. But I watched every minute of it, and I absolutely loved it. I'm delighted for the players. This game, the Community Shield, it means basically as much as you want it to mean. If you lose it, you can chuck it away, you can call it a friendly, you can disregard it. Had Arsenal lost this, as it looked like they were going to in those final few moments of stoppage time, I think there still would have been a lot of positives to take away. I think it would have been a very creditable performance against Man City, and we'll come on to that later on. But having won it, I think it's a huge boost to these players' belief, to their confidence. As I say, it means as much as you want it to mean. But look at the way they celebrated. Look at the way they ran to Aaron Ramsdale and Fabio Vieira when that final penalty kick was scored. They enjoyed this. They loved it. And I think a psychological hurdle was in some ways cleared today. Let's talk about the game. I think it was a fascinating game, a very high-level game, a very interesting tactical game. Two opponents, I think, feeling each other out, really. In those opening stages, City completely dominated possession, but Arsenal survived that, and I think survived it without really conceding any big chances. Then Arsenal came into it very strongly in the second half of the first half, had the best chances, maybe of the whole game, through Kai Havertz, one on the spin and then one off his weaker right foot. I think across those two chances he probably hoped to do better, but we'll talk about his performance because there were a lot of positives as well. The second half was really interesting. City made more changes than Arsenal, and I think that was Mikel Arteta going for it. I think when he saw the likes of Haaland come off, even though strong players, Foden, De Bruyne came on, I think he thought, I'm going to stick with my guys and as long as I can and see if I can squeak this. Then they fall behind, bit unfortunate in the manner of the goal. But it's a substitute who makes the difference. Leo Trossard, every time he's on the pitch, he seems to contribute something. Again, bit of luck with the goal, big deflection, but no less than Arsenal deserved. And obviously the shootout, Ramsdale saves from Rodri, a sweet poetry to that, because that guy seems to play by his own rules. The way in which he's able to escape yellow cards is extraordinary. He's probably worth whatever City paid for him purely for that ability alone. Oh man, I am buzzing though, because Arsenal was staring down the barrel of a sort of another brave defeat against Man City. Instead, they come away with medals round their neck, a piece of silverware they can take home on the bus with them, and I think those players will be buzzing in training over the next 7 days. Can't wait, I'm sure, for Nottingham Forest at the weekend and to get this Premier League season underway. Let's talk about the performance more generally. I think Arsenal were really solid. Like I said, didn't give away a lot of chances. Erling Haaland, barely saw him in the game. William Saliba and Gabriel marshalled him superbly. Brilliant to see Saliba out on the pitch, and couldn't help but think what might have happened at the end of last season, if we'd had Saliba, particularly in that crucial Man City game at the Etihad. Did he play that? I can't remember. Anyway, you know what I mean. Didn't give away a lot of chances. We went with Partey and Rice in midfield. Kai Havertz started up front. I think that was a good decision. I think it provided, at times where we didn't have the ball, Havertz gave us a bit of a platform to play. He worked very hard. His link-up play was good. As I said, the finishing touch is what was missing. With Rice, we had some physicality. A lot of the game bypassed Rice, a bit like when Xhaka played that position. It wasn't a high-touch performance. It wasn't a high-touch position on the pitch. But he does have that physicality. There was one brilliant challenge, I think, against Bernardo in the second half, where he raced back, and you saw that recovery speed, that ability in the duel that I think really made Arsenal absolutely convinced they had to pay the money for him. Defensively, he is so good. Let's talk about the players. Because this is still pre-season. Ramsdale, number 1 in goal. He's got that number 1 shirt on his back, and I don't think we should discount how much that means to him and how much he's prepared to fight for it. This was a really good day for Aaron Ramsdale. He made a couple of really important saves at 1-0, one from Phil Foden, one from Rodri, I believe, a near-post header at a corner. They kept Arsenal in the game. The second one in particular, I think, is a really good reaction to a near-post flick. Then obviously the shootout comes along. We've got to give Arsenal some credit here. When the Emirates Cup was played in midweek, Arsenal determined that whatever the full-time score was, there was going to be a penalty shootout in front of fans. if Arsenal had won 4-0 in the Emirates Cup against Monaco, there would have been a penalty shootout. That surely was to prepare Arsenal for facing those kinds of scenarios at Wembley and over the remainder of the season. Aaron Ramsdale saved a penalty in that shootout for the first time in an Arsenal shirt, and maybe that lifted his confidence heading into this shootout, because first penalty, okay, hit the bar, but the psychological mind game was won, and he does save the crucial spot kick from Rodri. Oh man, it's so sweet. I couldn't have picked a better City player to miss, honestly. Delighted with that. Big moment for Ramsdale. The players absolutely mobbed him at full time. That number 1 shirt is his. He is not going to let go of it without a fight. Could be a really interesting fight between him and David Raya, 2 very good goalkeepers. So Arsenal will be in a really strong position in that position next season. Right back, Ben White nearly created a brilliant goal for Havertz. Really good overlapping run in the first half. Saliba and Gabriel I've spoken about. I think they're such a good partnership. Saliba brings so much calmness. As I say, we didn't see Haaland in the game. Jurrien Timber played at left back. I said after the Emirates Cup, I think he's going to start the season there. This to me was confirmation of that. He really shone. A lot of fans of other clubs texted me during the game and said, Timber looks all right. I think Man United fans were feeling a bit sore that he's an Arsenal player, not a United player, because they wanted him very badly last summer. Very tidy, very aggressive in the challenge. I think he could play almost any position on the pitch, this guy. Classic Ajax player, love him. In midfield, Thomas Partey again showed his value. Broke up play, often sort of dropped very deep, almost like a third centre-half at times to help deal with Haaland. I thought he did that job well. Declan Rice, spoke about him a little bit. Not a huge on-the-ball game, but some good off-the-ball work. More minutes in his legs. I think he needs those minutes. He's a little bit behind some of these other players in terms of his preparation. Martin Odegaard, always a class act. Really liked his penalty. I think he'd be my first choice penalty taker for Arsenal. His technique's so good. He's so composed. I think he might have edged a... I don't know what they're doing in the garden over there. I think he might have edged ahead of Bukayo Saka for me. By the way, Bukayo Saka, always a threat on the right-hand side, and scored his penalty. Really pleased for him. I think he needed that. Gabriel Martinelli worked hard, as he always does. Absolutely tireless on that left flank. And Kai Havertz, as I said, off the ball, I liked what he did. Working hard, providing a fulcrum, providing a focal point. His finishing wasn't the best. That's kind of the player that he was at Chelsea for a long time. A guy who was very able on the ball, clearly very gifted, not a natural goal scorer. Remind you of anyone? Maybe a little bit reminiscent of Gabriel Jesus in that respect. But I do think that position up top can suit him. I know that it didn't go well for him at Chelsea there, and I think a lot of people want to have a clean break from that. Let's reimagine him as this midfield player. I think he'll play games in midfield, but we shouldn't, write him off as a centre forward. He does remind me at times of Robin van Persie in terms of the touch, the hold-up play, the height, the angular body. He doesn't have the devastating finishing as yet. Maybe that will come, fingers crossed. Off the bench, we saw a number of players. Smith Rowe came on, Eddie Nketiah came on. Trossard, you've got to talk about. I just think this guy's been a brilliant signing. And although he got a lot of luck with the deflection, you always can count on him to make something happen. That is his nature. That is the type of player that he is. I'll reiterate, I'm absolutely thrilled with this. I think, had we lost, I'd be saying, well, it's the Community Shield. But I think it is a big thing, and I think Arteta really values having a winning culture, and today will help instill that. A lot of these players have never won anything in their career. I'm thinking of someone like Aaron Ramsdale or maybe Ben White or Gabriel. Have these players won the big prizes with their club? I'm not sure they have. Saka, he was part of the FA Cup in 2020, but I think he was an unused substitute on the day. So Martinelli maybe would be the same. I think it will mean a lot to them, and I think it will give them real confidence. And I think it sort of calms some of the fears maybe about our pre-season. We looked much more solid today. Maybe that's partly because City controlled possession for quite a lot of the first half, so we had to be quite compact. It remains to be seen when we really go for it against teams. I don't think we really went for it against City a great deal. When we do go for it, we'd have looked vulnerable in pre-season to the counter-attack, to incisive passes between the lines. Nottingham Forest will be a better test of that in some respects, but just delighted for the players, delighted for Arteta. It's a really positive end to pre-season, and a really exciting campaign to come. So thank you for watching as ever. Do like, do subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. On to the next one. I'll speak to you all next week. I'll get back to my holiday and my family now. But yeah, delighted. Get in.